Post Scriptvm is a Russian-American project which has characteristics of death industrial, power electronics, noise, dark ambient, and other experimental music which falls under the post-industrial umbrella. Born in Moscow, USSR, the project's founder, Andrei, has lived in Brooklyn, New York since 1994. From a young age, he had a deep fascination with dark surrealist and occult literature and poetry, particularly from the Russian Silver Age. However, his true passion lies in music that echoes the mystical themes of such literary works, with his early influences being Soviet modern classical composers who infused experimental elements into their compositions, blending acoustic instruments with electronic and concrete sounds such as Sofia Gubadolina and Edison Denisov. Not long after relocating to the United States during his mid-teens, Andrei stumbled upon industrial music, bands such as Skinny Puppy and Front 242, along with the Wax Track record label. In an era before widespread internet access, delving into the depths of underground music was a gradual, slow process. However, approximately a year later, he stumbled upon releases from Cold Meat Industry and World Serpent Distribution. These resonated deeply with his perception of contemporary dark electronic music. These labels, alongside others such as Side Effects, Soleil Moon, and Tesco Organization, provided access to a new world of sounds that continue to captivate to this day. After a couple years of exploration, he realized that he wanted to create music of his own. Approximately a year before he could obtain the necessary equipment, he conceptualized the future project that would become Post Scriptvm. Finally, in 1998, Andrei had saved up for a 4-track Portastudio, a sampling keyboard, Korg DSS-1 with a faulty floppy disk drive, and a beat-up Radio Shack synthesizer, the realistic Concert Mate MG-1. With this equipment, he recorded around 30 hours of compositions. Only a handful of it made it onto the initial demo CDRs, which were burnt on a friend's computer and distributed to acquaintances in the New York goth industrial club scene who at the time showed very little interest. In 2001, the demo recordings reached the owner of a new emerging record label, Somnambulant Corpse Recordings, who invited him to contribute to a compilation dedicated to H.P. Lovecraft and to release a proper full-length Post Scriptvm album. The title for the first Post Scriptvm album, Gauze, came in a dream. Andrei's home studio was situated just a few miles from ground zero of the 9/11/2001 terrorist attacks. The lingering fires from the collapsed towers persisted for over 4 months, infusing his home studio with a constant scent of electrical fire and charred human remains during the recording process. Although initially a DIY release on CDR, Gauze garnered substantial distribution and was available for purchase at various European distros. A few years down the road, his third album marked his debut release for the legendary Tesco Organization. Its title is a Russian word spelled in an archaic manner, meaning disintegration. During the Russian Revolution of 1917, the anti-Bolshevik monarchist press heralded the end of civilization by prominently displaying this word in a large font on their front pages. Following the release, Andrei embarked on a festival mini-tour in 2007, performing with many well-known and legendary acts of the industrial scene, such as Genocide Oregon, Deutsch Nepal, Merzbow, Sigilla Mess, Bad Sector, Illusion of Safety, Trome, Asia Nova, Bloodbox, and many others. The following 2 years were dedicated to refining the successor album, Grey Eminence, Post Scriptvm's fourth full-length album, which was released in 2010. Grey Eminence was dedicated to capturing the inner sense of paranoia, instability, and existential dread. It marked the first time he incorporated a diverse range of acoustic instruments in his music. In 2013, after a 5-year break from live performances, Andrei received an invitation to co-headline a festival in Berlin. The event was organized by Stefan Hanser, the individual behind Anomane Tube and the Epicurean record label. Following this event, a collaboration with Anomane Tube ensued, resulting in the split LP. Additionally, a live retrospective which covered the years 2003 to 2014, entitled Seance, was released in 2015 by the Epicurean. The fifth studio album from Post Scriptvm, released by Tesco, entitled Benommenheit, a term philosopher Martin Heidegger used to depict existential disorientation, confusion, and unease. It was crafted to articulate the sensation of metaphysical horror at its zenith. Its sound was designed to be profoundly heavy and oppressive, yet imbued with a haunting elegance. The next destination for Post Scriptvm was to return home to Moscow. A very limited cassette EP was released by the Russian label Nen Records, which delved into the centuries-old yet persistent tradition of Russian outlawed and underground heretical religious sects. Then, in a haunting instance of life imitating art, the following Post Scriptvm full-length album was inspired by the symbolism of epidemic diseases. The Variola Vera LP was issued by Tesco in 2019, mere months before the COVID pandemic swept across the globe. Variola Vera, commonly known as smallpox, is a contagious and potentially fatal viral illness. Additionally, the word Vera in Russian can alternatively be translated as faith. Over the next few years, sporadic live Post Scriptvm performances took place in Pittsburgh, Providence, and New York City, culminating in the Post Scriptvm 25th anniversary show at the famed Brooklyn metal venue St. Vitus Bar in August of 2023. That brings us up to the most recent Post Scriptvm full-length album, which was released in February of 2024, which is a German word that loosely translates to a blast of ice. It delves into the phenomenon of sleep paralysis as a metaphor for the lapse of reason leading to the horrific events of the 2020s thus far. Back in August, Post Scriptvm embarked on another US tour as well. An EP was released on cassette by Dumpster Score. Back in April, Andre stumbled upon me, your narrator, and sent me several of his releases on various formats. I've been involved in music journalism since 2001 and have been sent some amazing care packages over the years, but I'm fairly certain this one was the most generous one yet. Thank you so much, Andre. Truth be told, Post Scriptvm was a name I knew, but only knew a little, and I think I had a compilation at some point that featured a track from the project. So receiving these albums was quite a delight, as I absolutely enjoyed every single one of them, and after indulging for countless hours and now several months later, I've walked away feeling more motivated for my own projects and in a huge appreciation for the music that Andre creates. Music aside for a moment, one of the things I absolutely adore about these releases is the artwork. I feel like within the greater power electronics or death industrial scene, you won't find better artwork, or if you do, it's certainly rare. Many artists seem to choose a simpler approach to their artwork, which is all fine and good if that's a staple of the scene, but I think it's amazing that the artwork within Andre's albums is so much more. For example, the soldiers within the Marginal Existence tape, or the almost psychedelic feel of Grey Eminence's cover artwork are very eye-opening and make an instant statement. I also really appreciate the fact that, although he's lived in the USA for most of his life, he hasn't by any means abandoned his Russian roots. Once again, for example, by displaying bold words in Cyrillic or other images that remind one of Russia or its former Soviet Union oppression. Now musically, Post Scriptvm falls somewhere within that area of death industrial, power electronics, noise, and dark ambient music. And one might think the music is overtly harsh or perhaps difficult on the ear, but I find that Andre's music is almost soothing at times with its various layers of hypnotic drones and pulsing grim electronics. However, there are certainly moments within his music which are intense and challenging, which may catch an untrained ear off guard. The song Brazil on his latest full-length is a great example, with blasts of punishing noise and distorted vocals following. It's hard to pick a favorite amongst these releases, but I found myself returning to Grey Eminence a lot, especially with its strangely almost ritualistic opening piece, Bell Glass Dome, or Homo Spectator is an interesting song too, especially with the sampled speeches and almost martial industrial vibe to it. The final song on Benommenheit is another example of the diversity of Andre's music, as I felt as if this song sounded like an old Italian horror film score ran through a noise filter. Very cool. I love the opening song on Variola Vera, Vuelos de la Muerte, which has this almost mysterious character, unsettling. It sets the stage perfectly with its calm before the storm-like approach. The second song then, Born to Trauma, has these interesting heavy beats intermingled with screamed vocals and violent blasts of industrial noise. Post Scriptvm has an interesting atmosphere throughout these releases. A lot of the time it sounds so oppressive, dark, and hopeless. Music within these genres is usually meant to feel almost tyrannical at times, and I think Andre has crafted a world where these feelings are omnipresent. But there are these moments where it felt like some ray of hope was shining through, but maybe that's just me. I also picked up on certain sounds or moods where it feels like he's paying tribute to certain historical events or characters, and considering his origins, there's quite a few tales he could invoke through his music. In a short while, Post Scriptvm has become a true favorite of mine, and considering I now own several of his releases, there's a lot of motivation to track down the rest of his recordings and add them to my collection. Thank you for watching this short documentary on Andre's music under the Post Scriptvm banner. And I hope you consider picking up some of his music, or at the very least, you can find it and stream it on Spotify, YouTube, and other services like that. I must also thank Andre once again for sending me all of the records, tapes, and CDs. It also goes without saying that a lot of the footage and the images you see in this video were sent to me directly from him, so he's had a huge hand in making this thing a reality. And, well, again, thank you so much, Andre. Hope you've enjoyed this. I hope everyone that has watched this has enjoyed it. And other than that, thank you as always for watching this channel.